A Journey Beyond, a message of faith and revelation. My name is Michael Grant, and I have something deeply personal to share. Something that changed my life forever. Honestly, finding the right words to tell this story has been a struggle, but it's far too important to keep to myself. On March 14th, 2022, I had an experience that completely redefined what I thought was possible. For 15 minutes, I was clinically dead. No heartbeat, no breath. But in those 15 minutes, I didn't drift into nothingness. I went somewhere so real and profound that I'm still trying to process it. What I experienced wasn't just for me. It was a message meant for all of us. Let me give you a bit of context. I've worked as a firefighter and paramedic for over 15 years. My life has always been rooted in facts, action, and what I could see and touch. I've witnessed humanity in its most desperate moments and seen incredible resilience. If you told me a year ago that I'd be sharing a story about dying and returning with a message from Jesus himself, I would have laughed. But life has a way of flipping everything you think you know upside down. That day started like any other. After a restless night following my daughter's piano recital, my mind was racing with a million little things. I decided to take an early morning bike ride to clear my head. The city was quiet, wrapped in a calm, pre-dawn stillness. A light fog hung in the air, crisp and refreshing. I glanced at my watch. 5:22 a.m. Everything felt so ordinary. And then it happened. I don't remember the impact, but I later learned a distracted driver, someone looking at their phone, hit me as I crossed an intersection. One moment I was alive and pedaling. The next, everything went dark. Or so I thought. What I expected was darkness, silence, an end. Instead, I found myself in a place so extraordinary it defied explanation. The first thing I noticed was the light. It wasn't like sunlight or any artificial light we know. It was pure, warm, and alive. It didn't just illuminate my surroundings. It filled me with an indescribable sense of peace. And when I say peace, I mean the total absence of fear, pain, or worry. Everything that had ever burdened me just melted away. It felt like I had finally come home. As I stood there trying to understand what was happening, I saw colors. Vivid, radiant colors unlike anything I'd ever seen before. Even the air seemed to hum with energy and music, a melody that resonated through me. The music wasn't coming from a single direction. It surrounded me, flowing from everywhere at once. It wasn't like any music I'd ever heard. It was as if joy and love had been transformed into sound itself. Then, I saw someone stepping toward me. It was my grandfather. He had passed away when I was a teenager, but there he was, looking vibrant and healthy, as though he were in the prime of his life. I recognized him immediately. His smile was just as I remembered, but there was something heavenly about him, a glow, a purity I can't fully explain. "Michael," he said, his voice overflowing with love and warmth, "you don't need to be afraid. He's waiting for you." Before I could ask what he meant, he reached out and touched my hand. In that moment, I felt a connection so deep it was as if every question I had ever wanted to ask him was answered without a single word. It was overwhelming, yet comforting all at once. "There's something you need to see," he said. Suddenly the light around me grew even brighter, becoming more focused. And then I saw him, Jesus. I'm not exaggerating when I say that trying to describe him feels impossible. He wasn't like any image or depiction I'd ever seen. His presence was both human and divine, radiating a love and power beyond anything I could comprehend. His eyes held everything, compassion, wisdom, and a depth that seemed to see not just who I was, but who I had been and who I was meant to become. I fell to my knees not out of fear, but because being in his presence was so profoundly humbling. He reached out and placed a hand on my shoulder. "Michael," he said, his voice gentle yet filled with authority, "there is something you must see, something my people need to know before I return." And then he showed me 4 events: the Great Distraction, the Great Deception, the Great Awakening, and the Great Return. I saw people all over the world glued to their devices, phones, screens, and technology, completely absorbed in things that didn't matter. Families sat together but didn't speak. Friends were more concerned with social media likes than with one another. Even believers were caught up in the noise, losing sight of what truly mattered. Jesus turned to me and said, "This is how the enemy works. He keeps them distracted, focused on meaningless things, and blind to what is truly important." The scene shifted to a church. People sat in pews, but their heads were down, their attention fixed on their phones. Even in worship, their hearts and minds were elsewhere. "Tell my people to wake up," Jesus said. "Refocus their hearts and minds on me." The next vision was chilling. I saw the world captivated by dazzling signs and wonders, lights dancing across the skies and beings of extraordinary beauty and charisma addressing humanity. They spoke of peace, unity, and enlightenment, but their words were laced with deception. Even strong believers were being drawn in, seduced by their promises. "These are not of me," Jesus warned. "They will mix truth with lies to lead many astray. Tell my people to stay rooted in my word, for it is the only foundation that cannot be shaken." I watched as entire nations celebrated these false beings, praising them as saviors. But beneath the surface, I could see the darkness in their intentions, a plan to lead humanity away from God. But then, I saw hope. Waves of light spread across the world as people turned back to God. Families prayed together. Communities were alive with worship and repentance. Miracles abounded, healings, deliverances, and lives transformed in an instant. "My spirit will move powerfully in these days," Jesus said, "but the cost of following me will be great. Tell them to stand firm, for the reward is eternal." Believers were mocked, attacked, and even killed for their faith, yet their joy remained unshakable. I saw small groups gathering in secret, their faith shining brighter than ever in the darkness. Finally, the sky split open, and there he was, coming in glory with legions of angels. The entire world stopped, every knee bowed, and every tongue confessed that Jesus is Lord. For some, it was an act of awe and worship. For others, it was in terror. It was the most beautiful and powerful moment I have ever witnessed. "This is what awaits," Jesus said. "Tell them I am coming soon. Tell them to be ready, for no one knows the day or the hour." As the vision faded, I found myself still kneeling before Jesus, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what I had seen. His gaze never wavered, as if all of creation could pause while he spoke directly to me. "Michael," he said, "the world is entering a time unlike anything it has ever known. You have seen what is to come, but remember this: I am always with you and my people. My love is unchanging, and my promises are unbreakable. Even in the midst of trials and chaos, those who trust in me will find peace beyond understanding.